I knew my wife was plotting to take half in a divorce, so I moved my assets. 2 weeks later she filed, then claimed it was all a joke when her plan backfired. Hello Reddit I plus here. I always knew Vanessa was too smart for her own good. That was part of what attracted me to her. The sharp wit, the way she could manipulate a conversation to make herself seem like the smartest person in the room. But over the years, that intelligence took on a new form. It became calculated, opportunistic, dangerous. At first, I thought I was just being paranoid. The little side comments she made about how much better she could do, the passive-aggressive remarks about how she sacrificed everything to be with me, the sudden interest in my financials. It all started to add up. So I did what any reasonable man in my position would do. I prepared. Vanessa had no idea that while she was scheming, I was watching. She had no idea I overheard her phone call with her sister, laughing about how she would be set for life once the divorce was finalized, or how she told her best friend that she would milk me dry for every penny I had. That was the moment I stopped doubting myself. I got to work. I met with my attorney, a ruthless but effective woman named Rebecca Monroe. She barely blinked when I told her what I suspected. Your wife thinks she's playing chess, Rebecca said, flipping through my financials. She doesn't realize you're 10 moves ahead. And I was. Over the next few months, I transferred my assets into a trust under my brother's name. I moved investments offshore, liquidated certain accounts, and rerouted funds so they were virtually untouchable. I even sold our vacation home in Aspen under the guise of market conditions. By the time Vanessa pulled the trigger and filed for divorce, I was ready. She came home that evening, all smiles and false sympathy. I think this is best for both of us, she said, as if she was the one being merciful. We just aren't working out anymore. I looked at her, this woman I had once loved, and I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. But then she handed me the papers. She had already consulted a lawyer, already calculated the settlement. The numbers were all there, half of everything. Half of what didn't exist anymore. I waited a full minute before speaking, just long enough for the tension to build. Then I leaned back in my chair and smirked. You sure you want to do this, Vanessa? A flicker of hesitation crossed her face, but she quickly recovered. I already filed, Marcus. It's done. I chuckled. You sure about that? She frowned. What are you talking about? I pulled out my own set of papers, my financial disclosures, my trust documents, my offshore statements. I watched her expression shift from confusion to shock to full-blown panic. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. What is this? She finally managed. That, sweetheart, I said, is the reality check you never saw coming. She flipped through the pages, her hands trembling. No, this isn't right. You had millions in these accounts. Had, I corrected. Not anymore. Her head snapped up. This isn't fair. Fair? I laughed. Vanessa, you were planning to rob me blind, and now you're upset that the vault is empty. Her face turned red. This was just a joke. I raised an eyebrow. A joke? Yes. She let out a forced, high-pitched laugh. Come on, Marcus. You really think I was serious? I was messing with you, testing you. You know how I like to push buttons? I tilted my head. So, let me get this straight. You filed for divorce, hired a lawyer, made settlement demands, all as a joke? She nodded frantically. Exactly. It was a prank, a test. But we can fix this. I smiled. We? She swallowed hard. Yes, we can fix this, Marcus. We don't have to go through with it. Of course, I said. There's just one problem. She looked at me hopefully. What? I already filed my counterpetition, I said, sliding another document across the table. And unlike yours, mine isn't a joke. Vanessa's breath caught. She scanned the papers, her fingers gripping the edges so tightly her knuckles turned white. You can't do this, she whispered. But I already did. Her face crumpled. I don't want a divorce. I shrugged. Well, that makes one of us. Tears welled up in her eyes. Marcus, please, I made a mistake. I got caught up in the wrong ideas. We can work this out. I sighed, almost feeling sorry for her. Almost. You made your bed, Vanessa, I said. Now sleep in it. And just like that, the game was over. The silence that followed was thick, suffocating. Vanessa sat across from me, her perfectly manicured nails tapping anxiously against the polished wood of our dining table. Well, my dining table now. She opened her mouth, probably to bargain, maybe to beg, but I held up a hand. Save it, I said, standing up. I gave you the chance to be honest. You chose to be greedy instead. Marcus, please, she whispered, reaching for my wrist. I pulled away before she could touch me. She had always been good at pretending, good at playing the part of the loving wife, the devoted partner. But I knew the truth now. I had seen the mask slip, and there was no putting it back on. Vanessa stood abruptly, knocking her chair back. "You're really gonna throw away everything we built over some stupid misunderstanding?" I let out a dry laugh. "Everything we built?" I gestured around the house. "I paid for all of this, Vanessa. You didn't build anything. You just waited for the payout." Her face twisted into something ugly. "You were supposed to love me." I met her gaze. "I did. And for a while I thought you loved me too." Her mouth opened, but no words came out. That was the thing about people like Vanessa. They never expected to lose. They spent so much time taking from others that they never prepared for the day someone took something from them. And today? Today I took everything. The next few days were eerily quiet. I expected fireworks, maybe an outburst or some last-ditch manipulation attempt. But Vanessa didn't put up much of a fight. I figured she was scrambling, trying to find a way to salvage her plan, but I had closed every door before she even reached for the handle. When she finally did break, it was spectacular. It happened on a Wednesday night, 3 days after she had filed. I was sitting in my home office when I heard the front door slam. Heavy footsteps stomped toward me, followed by a loud bang as my office door swung open. Vanessa stood there, her mascara smudged, her hair wild, gripping a wine glass so tight I thought it might shatter. "You ruined my life," she spat. I leaned back in my chair, unfazed. "Did I?" She let out a humorless laugh. "You're enjoying this, aren't you?" "A little." Her face contorted with rage. "I gave you the best years of my life." "Did you?" I mused. "Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you were waiting for the best years of my life to pay off." Her hands trembled as she set the wine glass down on my desk. For a moment, I thought she might throw it at me. "You want me to leave with nothing," she whispered. I met her gaze, unflinching. "I want you to leave with what you deserve." She scoffed. "And what's that?" I smiled. "Nothing." Her lip quivered. "You're a monster." "No, Vanessa," I said, standing up. "I just finally learned who the real monster was." For a long moment, she just stared at me. And then, without another word, she turned and walked out. That was the last time I saw her in our house. The divorce was finalized within 6 months. Vanessa tried to fight it, of course, but without access to my finances, she had no leverage. She walked away with whatever was in her personal bank account, which, as I discovered, wasn't much. Turns out, she had been counting on my money a little too much. She downgraded from our luxury home to a small apartment across town. I heard through mutual acquaintances that she tried to date a couple of rich men, but none of them took the bait. One of my colleagues mentioned seeing her working as a receptionist at a law firm. The irony made me laugh. As for me, I moved on. The best part wasn't the money. It wasn't even the satisfaction of outplaying her. It was the peace. No more walking on eggshells. No more wondering when the next scheme would unfold. For the first time in years, I was free. And Vanessa? Well, the joke was on her.